Hello and welcome to the Ramon Foster Show, starring Ramon Foster.
What's going on, man?
Every time. We have to do it every time.
I know. I mean, I got my name on the show. I'll take it, okay? I'll take it.
That's right. That's how it goes. Look at it this way. It's not the Matt Canada show.
It's not today. It could be a lot of people's shows right now, and I swear it will just go off without a glitch, man. Goodness.
I'll tell you what. Matt Canada's show would be well attended. It really would. So would the comment sections and everything else.
No, the comment sections have already been the show. Trust me, I've seen you guys.
Yeah, they're all over it. And you know what? I mean, it's impossible to blame them. Mike Tomlin in his press conference yesterday, whether he was responding 2 days late to my question that I asked him in Orchard Park or not, I don't know. But, I asked him up there if he was going to consider making moves, changing some things. And he said, yes, of course, was actually part of his response. Well, 2 days later, all that ended up happening was, and I have to say it just to be official, DeMarvin Leal was moved above Isaiah Loudermilk on the depth chart, which is impressive considering DeMarvin was playing and Loudermilk still hasn't gotten a hat. So that was it. That was your move. What do you think of the big moves the Steelers have made since losing to the Bills, Moan?
The fact that he's that open about doing it, DK, probably means there's more behind him. I want to give him that much by saying officially that's it. Nah, that's not what we're looking for, man. There's a lot that's legitimately going into this. You got a bunch of people throwing rocks right now, and nobody's used to this. We spoke about this the other day, DK. This is just a weird space for a lot of people, and I think when you look at the talent that's around them, and I think the biggest issue, though, DK, from this fan base, and this is it. I've been thinking about this, and I've been spewing it just like, golly, what is it? I think a lot of people just upset with the personnel of the coaches that are in. I think it's more of that, DK. Well, what are we actually doing? And I'll be real with you. I think namely just the offensive coordinator, okay? And I think it's a little bit personnel of the players a little bit too. Like, okay, why haven't we explored more mature, talented corners, right? You love Minka, and then you're in a bind about what you're going to do with the other safety. So you sign Terrell, and Terrell was inactive the last game. So you look at that situation, and then you say to yourself, well, at least from a public knowledge perspective, like people weren't super excited about the Chuk signing. And then you have a young rookie left tackle. So it's personnel and it's coaches that I think a lot of people just ticked off about when it comes down to Mike Tomlin and his management of this team, because that's what a head coach is also, right? As a people manager.
Right now, people want to see accountability. And regardless of where that position is on the field, which coach that is off the field. Tomlin's response to it yesterday was, I'm open to it and I remain open to it. And that actually is a reference back to the question that I asked in Orchard Park. But I don't intend to change for the sake of change or to shoot a hostage, if you will. If changes produce better outcomes or seemingly produce better outcomes, or we feel like it puts us in a position to produce better outcomes, then I'm open to it, certainly. Okay. So what was done? We don't know, Moan. Here's the thing. This is the question that I want to ask you. You now can say this because you're not there anymore, but whenever somebody was a coach or a positional coach, isn't there a way for the head coach to kind of change who's making the calls without telling any of us?
Well, yeah, I feel like we got a little bit of that with Dick LeBeau, a little bit on the defensive side of stuff. I feel like we got a little bit of that with Coach Keith Butler also. Offensively, we've seen this come into play, just being real with you, with Ben running no huddle, right? You remember that. And there'd be times we as players be like, shh. You're saying too much. You're talking too loud about what the obvious take is, man. But this is the issue, though. You're not in a position to where the biggest detriment is offensively, right? Like defensively,
absolutely.
The biggest detriment, but you're not in a position.
What's hurting the defense is injuries, and that's not an excuse. It's just a fact.
That's just what it is. You can say, well, Devin's not doing this, or you got corners not playing in these spots. Oh, okay. The biggest detriment, though, is you don't have anybody to put a Band-Aid over your biggest issue, and that is the offense. Kenny's not in a position to call no huddle like that. It'd be times we have a script, okay? Like, we'd have a script, man, and it would be about 3 plays. Most times it's like 15, right? It'd be about 3 plays, and then it'd be Ben. And maybe there's a little bit of an exaggeration in it. Okay.
So that thing on his wrist was just 3 letters. It just said Ben.
No, it was like the night before games, we get our call sheet and stuff like that. And it would be check with me. It's pretty much how it would go down. But when you have a guy that's been as good as Ben, when you have a guy that know the offense, and let's be real with you, okay? From Bruce Arians to Todd Haley to Coach Randy, absolutely nothing really changed, okay? Because why would you change Ben in the offense that he's really thrived in? You tweak some things around it. You make the protections a little bit more sure. You get the ball out quicker. But just in general, it was Ben's offense, which is why it was okay with throw your paper to the sideline. 7, you got it.
Can they do that with this guy?
No. You don't have the player.
What can they do? Why don't they take
DK, this is the most frustrating thing of it all, because all you can do is hope that he changes his philosophies. Okay, you hope,
and this is the philosophies.
Okay, but this is the other part, though. You can't have balls hitting guys in the hands. Okay,
I know. It's a combination of things. That's legit.
Do you really expect Coach Tomlin, Mr. Rooney, anybody in charge, Omar, to say, "We're about to fire you, Matt Canada, right now"? Or do you expect them to let Kenny grow? Let Kenny make his plays, protect him as much as you possibly can, and finish this thing out throughout the season? Who else is on that roster is going to call plays?
I don't think it's a matter of who's on the roster.
I'm going to be real.
Why not just have, just as an example here, okay? Because one thing, I'm going to take a micro here.
Okay.
Let's talk route trees. Everyone and their uncle looks at the Steelers' offense right now and says their route trees are trash, okay? Why not just say, hey, listen, Matt Canada, for this offensive meeting, how about you just go sit in the back while the grown-ups figure out some stuff here for route trees, and you call the route trees that we design. How about that?
It ain't that simple.
I know.
It ain't that simple, DK. And it is beyond frustrating because everybody know what the answers are, but nobody can can actually substitute it in right now, DK. That's what sucks about it. And the chatter is all it's going to do is just get louder.
It is, and then he makes an issue out of the chatter too, like as if somehow we're the ones that went out there and lost 38-3. When we come back on the Ramon Foster Show, more wacky hijinks. Welcome back to the Ramon Foster Show. Today will represent the first day that the Steelers are out in practice. We'll have full access as reporters to the locker room and everything else. We'll hear from a bunch of guys. Deontay Johnson came out, to his credit, on Monday when not a lot of players do make themselves available the day after a game, and had a lot to say. And it was a lot. And some of it was even getting into who are the real fans and so forth. And what I want to ask you, Moan, is it's not even about Deontay, okay? Because I know you like him, I know you respect him and everything else, and I've never had an issue with him myself. But do you ever say to somebody, dude, you just played 2 really rotten games.
Yeah.
How about not today? How about not today? Have you ever done that? Have you ever had to do that?
No, not really, because that those guys usually fall on that sword. And I look at this as a measure of just being irritated, sucking at football right now, having a losing record. I look at it at that. And you know what? I'm not excusing it, but I don't mind it. it's natural to push blame off on somebody else. Is it okay? No. Do you ever go at the fans? Absolutely not, because it's never really any good payoff. And the thing is, as soon as you turn that page and you start winning 3 in a row, everything changes. Those thoughts, man, I wish I would have never said those types of things. But I don't blame them, DK. Like, it's and this is the thing too. Can I say this about Dejounte? I more or less think his what do you want to call it? His brash, his boastfulness, his pushback to the media, to the fans, to everybody is probably more inner than it is outside.
That makes sense.
I almost feel like he's in a position like, what the hell y'all want me to do? You know, and I honestly feel like he's probably in a position, because we've been hearing it. I've seen more air quotation marks insiders that's potentially been talking to players or who have had side quotes from anonymous sources inside the Steelers building that's really been kind of saying, look, these guys are just kind of fed up with where they are. Namely, offensive guys are fed up with Matt Canada. And as a player, what are you supposed to do in this situation? Like, again, his play hadn't been great, right? It hadn't. But he's probably looking at it like, well, this ain't the routes that I really want to be running.
Right. And one of my first thoughts was between the locker room in Orchard Park and then that session on Monday, I was actually, to be honest with you, a little bit encouraged to see some guys getting feisty. The worst thing that can happen in a 1-4 situation is for everyone to go, oh, well, that's it. We're all good. How many more games? Let me look at my watch here. Okay, there's 12 more games. All right, well, let's just ride these out. That's not what happened. So if they take that out on people like me holding microphones and cameras, or if they take it out on the fans or whatever it is, hey, who cares?
You know what got me to that question? I mean, to that answer about Dejounte, because his answers weren't necessarily just like a visceral. It was just like, look, I'm tired like how y'all are. Like when he was asked a question about Ryan Clark saying something, he just simply said, hey, tell him come out here and come play then. And it was that, as a player, pretty much says, you know what it's like. I know you're not going to come play, but let me tell you this. This ain't the way it was when you were here.
Yeah, but also that he knows what it's like.
Yeah.
Okay, he was in London. And there's just like, it's not a great place to be.
No, and I'm not excusing Dejounte. I just know as players, sometimes you find that mindset of, well, if you only knew what I was dealing with. And I've been there before, too, with a coach, and he lasted just 1 year. I've been there with guys. I'm just like, man, he ain't hitting. I'll be glad we find somebody else. Like, I've been there where it's just situationally, I'll be glad when we get out of this funk. And while you in it, there's absolutely nothing you can friggin' do about it. Like, so I get it. Is it the best thing to say? No. But athletes though, DK, you know it. That wasn't a quit, I'm just ready to get to Cabo in the offseason. That was this sucks.
Yeah, and that's pretty much where he is at the moment too, because he also fits that category. I mean, he just does. He's been terrible. For what he's supposed to be, to have 2 catches 1 week and then to come back and have 5 catches on 13 targets, a couple big drops. I'm sorry. That's one of those ones when Bert Loudon, the media relations coordinator, comes up and says, hey, are you free to meet with the media on Monday? He just goes, now, why don't you get somebody who's playing, right now or has some accountability? Why don't we do that instead? When we come back, the only segment that matters.
Hey, Moan.
Welcome back to the Ramon Foster Show. Time for the only segment that matters, the Hey Moan segment, and that's always brought to you by the Get Go Cafe and Market, where their 3 expert chefs fine-tune every detail so that every sub, burger, salad, wrap, drink, and app is crafted for craveability. Moan, they call it craveability. Order now at the Get Go Cafe and Market. Better believe it. Our Hey Moan comes from Chris, who says, hey, Moan, given the horrific performance all around and Coach Tomlin saying after the game that there'd be accountability, is there any hope for this season to actually turn around, or is it just a season where the players need to grind, learn, and grow?
Oh.
Uh-huh.
I think it's necessary for both. Both can happen. Okay. It's not end all be all when it comes down to a football season. Y'all know, like I know, the worst thing about football is you got to wait a week to actually see something new. You know, like I've always kind of said, that's why it's so emotional, because you put all your stock into Sunday, right? And then you got to wait Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday again. And then it's right back to the emotional roller coaster. Both can happen. And both, honestly, I think need to happen. One, the winning has to kind of turn around a little bit. I'll be honest with you. You know, that's all I've been trying to do while doing this podcast. I don't know when it's going to flip. This schedule isn't favorable at all when it comes down to Pittsburgh. Like it's just not. Okay, the wrong road games. You got the wrong division that you're playing.
It's murder.
Yeah, it is. What is it? The AFC East you got this year. You've already lost to a weak New England team. You got Miami. Hopefully you get them at a really good time. You got Tom Brady. Like it's just not a good time. Do you need some wins? Yes, you do. Where they will come from, my guess, not being in that locker room, is just as good as yours. Like I'm on the fan side of saying to myself as a former player, look, this is a rough skid. And there were some times and some years we'd say, look, we got 6 games we got to get through. We get 4 of these 6. We split these 6, or we get all the ones at home, man, that's a win, because that's just a game. Some days you're just not going to be at your best. It's going to be something stupid happen, like you going to Oakland and losing a game when you're clearly the better team. Like that stuff happens. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? But do these players kind of figure out, you know, that it's kind of grimy in the NFL, that it's hard to win in the NFL, that look, there's nobody with a cape on is going to come out of the locker room by the name of Ben that's going to help you out. There's no 2015 like offense that you have on this team right now. Yeah, you kind of got to go through that because you appreciate it. Camp next year will be a whole lot different. There won't be many days off, I'm sure. There'll be a whole lot of grinding. Maybe Coach T will take, care of the guys' bodies a little bit differently, because you got to have certain things out of camp. The structure has to be a little bit different. His voice may get a little bit louder. The directness of how he deals with this team will be a little bit different because of this skid, and just saying, hey, we got to grind it out. Is no better reality than kind of say, we're not as good as we once were.
All I know is I'm just glad that DeMarvin Leal was elevated over Isaiah Loudermilk on the depth chart, because I wouldn't have been able to figure out otherwise that DeMarvin is contributing more to the team, since he's played in every game and gotten better every game, and Loudermilk still hasn't gotten a helmet. That's yeah. Maybe there's stuff, like you said, maybe there's stuff going on behind the scenes. Not maybe, there's definitely stuff going on.
It has to be. And Coach T has never, ever really just given that type of stuff up. We as players kind of knew that. Again, I mentioned earlier, like we knew when Ben was, look, get through the first series, and after that is check with me and Ben. Like we knew those types of things. We knew what it also meant. Also, we can tell when there was a fracture, whether it was a players, like AB situation, or whether Martavis like, God, dog, we got to go through this, or whether it was like E, like, well, we'll be fine. With Emmanuel Sanders, like, we'll be fine if E's not going to sign the deal. Like we knew and heard all of those types of things, and you just move and you adjust from them inside the building, because there's nobody else out there throwing their bodies on the line. You know what I'm saying? As far as the players go. I respect where they're coming from. I also understand on the fan side. Now, look, this is hard living, DK.
Yeah, no question about that. It's complaints, and justifiably so, all around here. Let's do it again tomorrow, Moan.
Absolutely. Better attitude. Okay, yeah. let me not get down. Hell, get up, Moan. Let's go.
A special all upbeat episode of the Ramon Foster Show coming tomorrow.